hard. We've been preparing since August to share some of our learning with you, and I'm going to let them kind of take it over from here.
Hi, this is Haven and Juliet from the Claymont Clean team. And today we have an interview with Mr. Leaders. Mr. Leaders is in charge of finance and energy usage throughout the entire district. So here is Mr. Leaders and Nick Cook during the interview.
Hi, Mr. Leaders. Welcome to Claymont. We really want to know what Claymont is already doing to help keep the environment from depleting and saving it. So what is it? What are we already doing to keep it?
Great things such as we have solar panels on our rooftops. We have changed out all of our light bulbs to LED, which use less energy and therefore create less emissions. We have made our heating and air conditionings more energy efficient. We do a wonderful program with recycling and composting. So there's a lot of good things with waste that we're doing to try to keep our landfill waste down as much as possible.
All right, thank you. What are we doing? What can Claymont do to make the school better than it's already at? It sounds like it's pretty good, but...
Yeah. Claymont's doing great. I'm really proud of the schools in Parkway. I think there's a lot of active interest in trying to make it as green as possible. But I always think there's always room for improvement. No matter what school, no matter what organization, there's always room to do better. So I think trying to be more mindful over our waste. So for instance, like we're doing a great job with recycling, composting in our lunchroom. Perhaps we might be able to make sure that when people are bringing their lunch, encourage them to bring reusables.
And we've got one more question. What are some things that Claymont can gain and rewards from different companies and like that we could get for being energy efficient?
Yeah, so there's a lot of great programs. So the Department of Energy has an Energy Star Award. You might notice that electronics that you and your families purchase have a little Energy Star logo on it. They also certify buildings. So becoming Energy Star certified is something several Parkway schools have done, and I hope Claymont will be able to do in the future. Green Schools Quest is a great program that Claymont's participating in. It's a project in trying to make the school more green. I hope the school is able to win that award, as well as the Green Ribbon Schools Award. We have 4 Parkway schools now that are Green Ribbon schools, and I really hope Claymont will be the next.
All right, thank you. We really enjoyed this.
Yeah, thank you so much.
We hope we can keep doing things like this.
Okay.
Something in the trash, it is then taken to a landfill where it is left to sit there forever. It never decomposes or sinks into the earth. And if it's not taken to a landfill, it's taken and put on a barge, and then after that it's dumped straight into the ocean, which can result in our ocean animals dying.
It's important to recycle because it helps reduce trash levels and it reduces waste such as paper, plastic, and some metals. If you eat breakfast in the morning, you might have a half-empty milk carton. So you should empty it out in the compost bin, then recycle it.
Composting. Composting is really important to our earth because compost helps our soil have better nutrients, and that will help our plants grow better. Compost also helps our soil hold water, which will eventually save water. Compost also protects some things like roots from damage from the sun and the wind.
R's. Reduce. It is very important that we are always thinking about ways to reduce waste. For example, you can start drinking milk without straws. If you need to wet your face, only grab one napkin, not the whole stack.
When you have something like a water bottle and a plastic bottle, and you finish it, don't throw it away. Refill it and reuse it again. And if you can't reuse it, then at least recycle it. And you can also reuse stuff like cardboard boxes and back of papers.
Recycle. Did you know that the order of the 3 R's is very important? First, you should see if you can reduce it. If you can't reduce it, then reuse it. If you can't do that, then recycle. This is the 3rd and final R. When you recycle, it goes to a recycling plant where it is made to new plastic and new materials.
I love cheese and crackers. What do you guys have for lunch?
I have a ham and cheese sandwich and a plastic water bottle. I have school lunch. Me too. I have some Cheez-Its and an apple.
My mom got me Subway and chocolate milk.
What do you have for lunch, Phil? Oh look, lunch is almost over. Oh yeah, get ready everybody.
You guys want to play kickball?
Yeah!
You guys are dismissed. Start your correct way, put it in the correct bins. All right, come on, let's go. Wait a minute! I forgot where all my trash goes.
I don't remember either. Never fear, Claymont Free Team is...
This goes here, right? I don't know. Wait, where is this one is? And you guys need some help? Yeah, definitely. Okay, so I need fruits like bananas and oranges, I think. Will always go in the compost if you're going to finish them. Or to start them, right? Yeah, but if you have to start them, you don't share it. Yeah, so things like your Pop Tart, which you haven't finished yet, it'll go in the shading. But now you've already started. Yeah. Where's my milk carton? Yeah, your milk carton can go in your recycling. Yours is still half full, so you have to pour it into the compost and then put it in the recycling. What about they just go here, right? No, those actually go in the trash because they have plastic wrap around them. Oh, so you don't get this extra stuff. Then I put my carrots in the compost. Yeah, you put the carrots in the compost and then you put the plastic in the trash. So since this one's finished, you have to put it over here, right? Yep. And very good. The trays go here. Nice job. Have fun at recess. All right, bye.
Compost. Things that should go in the compost include unfinished food from lunch, Parkway is a leader for compostable materials. Spoons, fork, red and white boats, napkins, and trays all also go in compost.
Recycle. These are some of the things that should go in the recycling. Plastic bottles, paper products, cans, empty milk cartons, paper, and much more. Make sure you remove any food waste from the recycled materials.
Landfills. When you don't recycle things, they go to the landfill. This is bad for the environment because then we have to make more of something. And that causes pollution, and the reason it causes pollution is because you have to burn fuels like coal to make it, and that releases gases that are bad for the environment. And after that, they will go into the ocean.
Solid waste, garbage, trash, whatever you call it, you throw away 4.5 pounds of it a day. Now think about your neighborhood. Say you have at least 20 neighbors. Altogether, they're throwing away 90 pounds of trash a day, and 630 pounds of trash a week. 363,369 people in Madison County. That's 1,635,160.5 pounds of trash a day. If just one county produces over 1 million pounds of trash, how much do you think the rest of the world produces? Think of all the neighborhoods, businesses, your favorite restaurant or place to shop. They're all producing trash. So let's find out, where does our garbage go?
Well, it begins with the trucks going out into the residential neighborhoods to collect garbage, solid waste, which we refer to as solid waste, yard waste, and recyclables. These garbage guys are picking up 2,000 homes per day. Everybody thinks they're the only one maybe, but after having to collect that many residents, it makes it much easier for them. If it's bagged properly, canned properly, make sure it doesn't weigh more than 50 pounds. The dump then, when it reaches its full capacity, comes to the landfill. At the landfill, the trucks are then weighed. Once they're weighed in with their full load, then they dispose of that load at the top of the hill. And then they, again, turn around and come back over the scale where we weigh them with an empty load. And then we figure out the tonnage.
In 2015, 301,000 tons of garbage was buried at the Lena Road landfill. Our landfill won't last forever. After phase 3 is full, we only have one more area left to bury something we produce on a daily basis.
Right now, I think we have a life expectancy of 30 plus years. If we can maintain that by proper disposal methods and utilizing recycling, we can keep the costs down with the garbage as well as maintaining the shelf life out here.
And the more people or residents and or businesses recycle, it prolongs the shelf life of the landfill by sorting the recyclable materials out rather than taking up valuable space in the landfill.
Recycling is the only way we can extend the life of our landfill. Our recycling center has areas to house everything from appliances, scrap metal, tires, and electronics to household hazardous waste that can contaminate the landfill if it's buried. We also recycle all the yard waste we pick up weekly.
You can imagine all this stuff getting buried on top of that hill. Probably from the time we started this till now, that third phase of the hill would already be done and we'd be working on the next phase. We only have one more phase of the landfill.
So the Lena Road landfill is where your garbage goes today. How long it has left depends on what you are throwing away. Every 3 months, Americans throw away enough aluminum to build our nation's entire commercial air fleet. Recycling a stack of newspaper just 3 feet high saves 1 tree. Improving and increasing recycling is one of the greatest opportunities for our environment, our natural resources, and our economy. Help your county.
Upcycling. What is upcycling? Does anybody have an idea what upcycling is?
We put
milk and the Claymont.
That's a good idea.
Maybe like the opposite of recycling?
Maybe. Upcycle is actually when you turn trash into something usable. What can you upcycle? Does anybody have an idea?
Yeah. Cardboard boxes?
It's a good idea. Anything. In fact, here are some things you can upcycle. Okay, now what would you do with these items? What do you think you could do with a plastic bottle?
You could fill it up again and reuse it. You can use it multiple times. Like, you don't have to just use it one time to refill it. You can use it more than one time.
And those are great ideas. What do you think you could do with this?
You could throw it in the trash. You could use it for toilet paper.
Guys, you're upcycling. So you're creating
Like,
something
you
new.
could use this like in the video. They turn pens, like they put it on old pens and on the side of a cup to make another pencil cup. Is any?
Makerspace. What can you do with makerspace?
You can paint it and then you can cover the bottom and then it could be like a pencil holder.
That's a good idea.
You can make it into paper.
Okay, Julia, I have something for you. Okay, so last year, boys and girls, you may have seen some of this taking place. We did a trash audit when these students that are talking to you today, when they were in 4th grade. And what we did was we took all of the trash that was produced in one day at lunch. It happened to be taco salad day, so it was pretty yucky. And we went through all of the trash that Claymont students produced in a day. And we weighed and we sorted it, and what we found out was that all of the trash that came out of Claymont, only 9% of it should have been in a gray bin. So that means that we can do so much better than what we're currently doing. So that's why we're here to talk to you guys today. 74% of the trash that we found could actually have been compostable. And a lot of the stuff was not sorted correctly. So we had a lot of other numbers, but we decided just to show you these to let you know that almost everything that we have at Claymont can be composted, means it goes in the yellow, or it can be recycled. And that means that we're just taking a little bit to the landfill. And so that's why you sometimes see me and some other adults in the cafeteria, and we're using these grabbers, and we are moving stuff around, because we want to make sure that these numbers are right. Because if we put things in the yellow bin and the compost that aren't supposed to be composted, sometimes our school gets like tickets for it. And then if there's things in here that aren't supposed to be in here, sometimes they just throw all of that away. And that's all things that could be really, really good for the earth that ends up getting thrown away. Okay, so this is what we have the potential to be. We have the potential to be less than 10% in the trash can, okay? But I can't do it by myself. The 5th graders can't do it by themselves. That's why we're here to talk to you guys today, because we want your help, okay? Another reason that our school can be so good on the composting is that we have some really special things in our school. So like these trays, these are special trays that can be composted. They can be broken down and put back in paper. New this year, these spoons can be composted now. So before all plastic went in here, all of your silverware, the spoons, and we're almost ready for the fork. So we had to use all of the plastic stuff first. So we're done with all the plastic spoons in Parkway. Your spoons can be composted. If you look on them today, it says compostable, okay? And so then they can go in here, right? The red boats can also be composted. You guys know what I'm talking about, the red boats?
Yeah.
Yeah, so those can go in there. So like yesterday there was pineapples in the red boats.
Oh, yeah.
All of that can go in there. Napkins from school. Napkins from school can go in here. Do you know what cannot be recycled or composted? Straws. Okay? So pretty soon, I think some of my students, and with the help of you guys, I think we're going to start maybe taking on a no straw challenge to see if we can completely eliminate straws, because they can only go to the landfill. There's nothing else. And I think we can all get by without a straw. I know I can. So, I never use a straw. Okay. All right. You guys have about three more minutes.
Always remember to just throw your trash in the correct place. You know that it can be go to the landfill or not, or keep those markers at the right places. And then remember to reduce the amount of trash that you're putting out. Recycling and composting is good, but it's even better to have less of it. And if you can't reduce the amount of trash, try and reuse the stuff that you have that can go in trash, but try and reuse it. And if you can't do any of these, then just recycle your plastics. Make sure they're always in the recycling bin. If they're in the trash bin, then they're going to be taken out. Credits. Mrs. Leary for organizing a bit time and helping us put
Mrs. Leary for organizing a pit time and helping us the whole way through. Mrs. Lipiccolo for letting us use her room. Mrs. Weisenborn and Mr. Meckel for letting us create a pit assembly for the school to see and helping us find ideas. Mr. Wall, Mrs. Holland, Mrs. Scott, Mrs. Sissel for being a part of the video. Mr. Workman for helping us in filming, editing, and uploading. Thank you for listening, and remember to stay green.
Today, when you are in the lunchroom, okay, if you don't know where something goes, I want you to ask. Something that you may have seen in the video, and I'm going to have Haven demonstrate this. So, this is kind of something that happens all the time. So, some students know that food is supposed to go in compost. So, Haven's going to show you what you would do with this. Same thing with like your milk cartons or your juice. This was full. What would you do with it?
You would empty it into the compost and then
okay. So there's a lot of items that might have a two-step process, but you guys are old enough that you can do this, and we want to try to keep our landfill at that below 10%. Okay. All right. Thank you guys so much for your time.
Thank you. Boys and girls, can we really give a big